Chapter 4 to 6. In the dense forest, Yuto gripped the handle of his kunai with both hands, the sharp iron blade piercing into Tetsuro Sugiura's body, severing his spine. Of course, he wouldn't use gentle fist. A shinobi's body contains a vast amount of information. When Tetsuro's corpse is returned to Konoha, it will undoubtedly be examined by experts in medical ninjutsu. Using gentle fist would be like engraving "I am the killer" on his forehead. Kunai is a tool used by shinobis worldwide. It can't be traced back to a specific type. As long as one is careful about the angle and strength of the stab, it's the perfect weapon to kill one's own people. The kunai was pulled out, bringing out a large amount of blood. Tetsuro groaned, raising his hand like lightning. However, Yuto used body flicker technique to appear in front of him, slashing the kunai mercilessly and severing his wrist. The Konoha Jonin could no longer form seals. Yuto kicked fiercely, a harsh kick landing on Tetsuro's chest. After the sound of bones cracking, the Jonin flew back over 10 meters until he crashed into a big tree. He fell to the ground in despair, his eyes unfocused. His spine was severed, his hands crippled, his chakra nearly depleted, and the traitor in front of him possessed the Byakugan. There was no way to escape. He would die from blood loss. "Tetsuro-senpai, please don't move." Yuto exhaled lightly, speaking calmly. "I don't intend to torture you. Please sit here and wait for your blood to drain. Believe me, this way of dying isn't very painful." His words were interrupted by Tetsuro's snort. "Konoha's scum pretentious bastard. How could the Hyuga clan produce an animal like you?" Yuto shook his head without expression. "Tetsuro-senpai, if you want to provoke me into approaching you with words, this level won't do. You are a very talented shinobi. In the past 10 days under your command, I've experienced this deeply. Before your blood dries up, I won't approach you rashly. It's too dangerous." Tetsuro's heart sank. The usage of the shortened senbon hidden under his tongue became slightly hesitant due to his despair. Although his chakra was nearly exhausted, using senbons only required a trace of chakra, which was foolproof against an enemy who thought they had won. Unfortunately, the young traitor before him was too smart and cautious, revealing no flaws. No wonder, he's the jewel of the Hyuga, Tetsuro Sugiura thought bitterly. After a brief silence, Tetsuro carefully observed the young man with white eyes. "Yuto Hyuga, do you want my body?" "Yes," Yuto nodded, rubbing the scroll. "The reconnaissance squad was annihilated, but I brought back valuable information and survived alone. The enemy was wiped out, so there's no reason for me not to protect the body of my Jonin leader. If all your bodies were completely disposed of, it would be too suspicious. Aren't you afraid that people in the village will find something from my body?" "I'm afraid, and I know that certain forbidden techniques can ask answers from the dead souls." Yuto thought of the infamous, impure world reincarnation. "But there's no way. Doing this always comes with risks. If I'm found out, I'll just die." "Doing this?" Tetsuro's face turned pale. The long-term blood loss made his consciousness begin to blur. "Betraying the village, the clan, your comrades, you can do these things so lightly." He stated and paused, taking a while before continuing. "Can you tell me your reason?" Yuto Hyuga calmly looked at him, slowly removing his forehead protector, revealing a blue-green curse mark, the caged bird. All members of the Hyuga branch family have a curse mark called the caged bird, engraved on their foreheads in their childhood. From then on, until death, they can never escape. This curse mark can seal the Byakugan's ability and can completely destroy the eyes and brain if the marked person is killed, or their eyes are removed. Moreover, the main family members can control and destroy the branch members' brain nerves and brain tissue through this curse mark. In the Hyuga clan, this is an ironclad hierarchy. It has been passed down for generations, a 1,000-year-old tradition of the caged bird curse mark. Tetsuro Sugiura's eyes widened in disbelief. "Just because have the caged bird?" He breathed heavily, for the first time showing emotions of confusion and anger in his voice. "Yuto Hyuga, for the sake of a mere curse mark, you're betraying the village and the clan." The caged bird indeed limits your freedom and abilities, but it's a tradition and rule of a powerful shinobi clan. And this curse mark successfully prevents others from stealing the Byakugan, protecting you all. Even as an outsider, I know that in the Hyuga clan, the main family are the true heirs, bearing the responsibility of protecting and promoting the Hyuga clan. The branch family is the guardian of the main family, responsible for protecting the Hyuga main family. With sacrifices, the clan becomes strong, the village prospers, and Konoha flourishes. Yuto put on his forehead protector covering the caged bird. He looked down at the dying Jonin, speaking softly. For some reason, I remember things early, and matured early. I've been thinking about a question for a long time. Maybe I should just endure it. Konoha is a good village. Though there are many dirty dealings, overall, it's quite positive. The Hyuga clan is strictly hierarchical, but at least it looks decent on the surface. Maybe I should just endure it. Work hard on missions, train diligently. After reaching a certain height, life should be okay. At worst, endure for another 30 or 40 years, and when the new era arrives, maybe everything will get better. I thought about it for a while and came to a conclusion. Yuto's expression suddenly lost its calmness and warmth, becoming somewhat erratic and helpless. No, I can't endure it. I can't tolerate being branded as a slave, serving as some people's guardian for life. I can't tolerate my descendants having this ugly caged bird on their foreheads. What I can't tolerate the most is my future self, living a repressed life, not daring to resist until death. The dying Tetsuro's expression was filled with confusion. Yuto Hyuga, what is he talking about? Can't tolerate it? What's so intolerable? For so many years, why could other branch members endure it, but you can't? For the prosperity and strength of the Hyuga clan. Shouldn't you abandon personal feelings and become the most solid shield of the main family? You're the jewel of the Hyuga. With incomprehension and doubt, the Jonin's heartbeat slowed down. Eventually, he died from blood loss. The lone standing Yuto Hyuga sighed softly, slowly walking towards Tetsuro Sugiura's body. You can't understand me, and I can't understand you. Ha! The gap between people and me are as vast as the sky from the star. He squatted down, leaning close to the gradually cooling corpse. But let me tell you one last thing. To be honest, I really... The branch family boy bit his teeth tightly. The excessive anger made his mouth bleed, as if he wanted to chew his own skull to pieces. I really hate that title. Jewel of the Hyuga. One day later, Yuto Hyuga stopped running and slowly walked out of the forest. Ahead lay a vast plain with dense clusters of buildings. Behind the buildings, a massive rock face stood silently, carved with 3 gigantic faces. This was Konoha, the shinobi village of the Land of Fire, one of the world's 5 great shinobi village. For much of history, Konoha was the most powerful. Yuto calmly looked at the village gate and walked towards it. The Chunin on duty at the gate saw him and nodded slightly in greeting. The Land of Fire and Konoha always had a large population, but the village wasn't very big. Even if you didn't know everyone, you'd recognize faces after a while. Moreover, over the past year, the name Jewel of the Hyuga had gained some influence. Yuto's exceptional appearance made him memorable. Konoha's buildings had a traditional charm. Though there weren't many tall buildings, the village wasn't backward. Electricity was common, and the roads were wide. The large trees with lush foliage broke the sunlight into pieces, casting dappled patterns on people. The smell of food from street shops filled the air, giving the place a lively atmosphere. Despite all biases, even Yuto admitted that Konoha was full of life. In his previous life, reading manga or watching TV, he had a good impression of Konoha. He had imagined that if he ever transmigrated, he would stand on the side of justice in the 4th Shinobi World War, watching Naruto Uzumaki and Sasuke Uchiha battle Madara. Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their friends are worse than scum. This line had once made his blood boil, leading him to faithfully follow the manga and accompany the blonde underdog. But things were different when he was truly reborn as a baby in the Naruto world. Who in their right mind would brand a caged bird on the forehead of their comrades? Yuto sighed silently and continued walking through the streets. As a Chunin returning from a mission where all but himself had perished, the proper procedure was to report to the Hokage's office immediately, detailing the mission and handing over the valuable intelligence he had obtained. But Yuto knew he couldn't do that. He was Yuto Hyuga, the jewel of the Hyuga, a genius of the branch family, indoctrinated from a young age to serve the main family. His first action upon returning to the village should be to report to the clan leader. Every action must align with his identity, concealing his true intentions. With these thoughts, Yuto quickly arrived at the Hyuga clan's compound. Unlike the Uchiha, the Hyuga clan occupied a large area near the village center. Even with ordinary eyesight, one could easily see the Hokage's office from the compound's entrance. Yuto didn't enter through the main gate, but signaled the guards and entered through a hidden path, heading straight for the deepest part of the compound. Living in the Naruto world for 12 years, Yuto understood that the world wasn't as bright and sunny as the manga portrayed. There were many dirty deeds to be wary of. During this period, both the Hyuga and Uchiha clans held significant power in Konoha and enjoyed many privileges. Even returning to the clan compound immediately upon returning to the village was an overreach that the third Hokage, Hiruzen Sarutobi, would tolerate, as long as it wasn't too blatant. If Yuto had brazenly walked into the village and directly entered the clan compound, it would have been a direct slap in the face. It would either be seen as a child's homesickness or as the Hyuga clan's disregard for the Hokage's authority. Sneaking into the compound was a way to save reputation for everyone. Soon Yuto arrived outside a courtyard and knelt on one knee, looking down at his toes. "Yuto-kun, come in." A voice from inside invited him, and Yuto respectfully responded and bowed before slowly entering the house. Inside, a young shinobi in a spacious kimono sat quietly in the center. His long hair and white eyes, combined with his calm demeanor, exuded an air of authority. He wore no forehead protector, and his forehead was unmarked. "Clan leader," Yuto said respectfully, kneeling on one knee. The young man before him was the recently appointed head of the Hyuga main family, Hayashi Hyuga. "Yuto-kun," Hayashi said with a slight smile. "How did your mission go?" "Clan leader, there were complications, but I obtained the intelligence from Kumogakure." "Complications?" "Yes. Tetsuro Sugiura and Genin Satu Masato, Reiro Yamagata, and Eiji Hirahara all perished." Hayashi's brow furrowed slightly. "Even Tetsuro Sugiura." The young clan leader sighed and was silent for a moment before speaking again. "The world is dangerous. I'm glad you made it back alive." "It's all thanks to the clan's teachings," Yuto replied flawlessly. Hayashi pondered for a moment before continuing. "Your reconnaissance squad accomplished much, but with everyone else dead, the credit will fall to you alone. The Hokage is fair and will reward you. Have you thought about what you want?" "I will follow the clan leader's arrangement." "Well said," Hayashi snorted. "Even I can't change the Hokage's decision, understand?" "Yes, I understand. You may leave. If the Hokage wants to reward you immediately, you can delay it. Positions in the Anbu barrier team or the Hokage's office, or a direct promotion to Jonin would all be beneficial to the clan." "Only considering the Hyuga clan, without a thought for me." Yuto thought coldly, but maintained his respectful demeanor as he left. "Lumiko, Yoshihiko, and Kengo are all almost 3 years old. They will have their ceremony this week. As one of our outstanding members, I permit you to serve as a guard for the event. It is an honor." "I'm honored, clan leader." "Ha! Branding 3-year-olds with the caged bird seal, turning them into slaves. And witnessing this cruel ceremony is a privilege for an older slave like me." Yuto bit his tongue to keep his expression steady as he left Hayashi's courtyard and exited the compound. Outside, he took a deep breath, suppressing all his emotions. He knew his difficult task had only just begun. Killing Tetsuro Sugiura and claiming all the credit was a risky move, all for the actions he would take next. Yuto looked up at the distant Hokage's office standing tall. For the shinobis of the village, meeting the Hokage is not particularly difficult. especially for someone like Yuto Hyuga, who has just completed a mission and returned to the village. Reporting to the leader is a routine matter. After being led into the Hokage's office by an Anbu wearing a dog-faced mask, Yuto kneeled on one knee and respectfully said, "Greetings, Hokage-sama." In the room, the 50-year-old Hiruzen Sarutobi slowly turned around. He wore the Hokage's robe, held a pipe, and his hair was already white. He didn't look like a leader of a village. Rather, he resembled a thin and short neighborly uncle. But Yuto knew that at this age, Hiruzen Sarutobi, as a shinobi, was at the tail end of his peak with immense power. He was undoubtedly Konoha's strongest force at this time. 16 years later, during Orochimaru's attack on the village, Hiruzen's body had already deteriorated. Even if he hadn't used the Reaper Death Seal, he wouldn't have lived for many days after the battle. As the Hokage, Hiruzen was not only powerful, but also far wiser and more skillful than most. During his tenure, strong shinobi clans had consistently subdued and obeyed the will of the Shadow, while geniuses continually emerged in Konoha, leading to a prosperous village. Praising him as a hero is not flattery. "Yuto, stand up. No need to kneel," Hiruzen said, exhaling a ring of smoke and looking at the young man standing up. "The barrier squad reported that they only detected your chakra." "My deepest apologies, Hokage-sama," Yuto said, his handsome face showing evident pain. "Tetsuro Sugiura, Satou Masato, Reiro Yamagata, and Eiji Hirahara all perished. The Special Assault Reconnaissance Team is down to just me." "So Tetsuro-kun is also gone?" Hiruzen Sarutobi sighed softly. "Yes, Tetsuro-senpai was surrounded and couldn't escape. Hokage-sama, this is the scroll." Yuto handed over the cylinder. Hiruzen Sarutobi took it, gently tapped it a few times to break the seal with a special secret sign, and then carefully read it. Throughout the process, Yuto kept his head down. He didn't peek, and even his fingers didn't move. Estimating that Hiruzen had almost finished reading, Yuto began his well-rehearsed mission report, which he had mentally prepared dozens of times. The first half of the mission went smoothly. "We reached the land of hot water and retrieved the intelligence from the agreed-upon cave, but we encountered problems on the way back. In the land of hot water, we were ambushed by Kumo shinobi, and continuous attackers followed us as we moved toward the Fire Country border, defending ourselves as we went. We didn't expect an enemy Jonin to appear." What Yuto said was 99% true. Except for the crucial part where he ambushed Tetsuro Sugiura, he hid nothing, even detailing the locations where the Konoha shinobi died. After this, the Anbu would clean up, and according to Yuto's description, they would retrieve the bodies of the fallen shinobi and conduct autopsies, reconstructing the events of that day based on their experience. This is the rule and procedural justice. Every shinobi village has similar tracking systems and can't simply trust the words of subordinates. After Yuto finished speaking, seeing that Hiruzen remained silent, he obediently stood still. Throughout, his gaze remained fixed on his toes. "After you leave here, go to the Anbu to assist in the investigation," Hiruzen suddenly said. "As a Jonin, Tetsuro Sugiura's death must be recorded independently without any errors." "Yes, Hokage-sama, I understand. I will cooperate with the Anbu." "Good. As expected of the jewel of the Hyuga, Yuto-kun. Though you are young, you handle matters with the maturity of an adult." Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled and handed the scroll to Yuto Hyuga. "Take a look. As a learned member of the Hyuga clan, you should understand." The handsome boy nodded, understanding the value of this intelligence after just a few glances. "The price of grain in the land of lightning is continuously rising. Are they preparing for war?" "Yes, the war-hungry Kumo shinobi are about to stir up trouble again." "Victory will belong to Konoha," Yuto said respectfully, chanting the slogan loudly. Hiruzen chuckled. He wouldn't discuss such matters of national war with a 12-year-old Hyuga branch member. He merely used this intelligence to lead into the topic. The value of this scroll is significant, not only exposing Kumogakure's war intentions, but also revealing a few supply lines. Kumogakure will have a headache now knowing we are aware of the locations. They will need time and effort to re-establish supply routes. Not only that, You killed several enemy shinobi during the mission, including a jonin. Including Tetsuro-kun, all members of the team except you are dead. Konoha will deliver their pensions to their families, but the credit will all fall on you. Since becoming a genin, you have completed 92 missions, 5 of which were high-risk A-rank missions, all perfectly accomplished. With this mission, well, you have accumulated significant merit. Go to the Anbu, Yuto Hyuga. I will give you special permission to enter. One of the Anbu captains under my command is aging. You still have time to grow. If it were an ordinary Konoha shinobi, they would undoubtedly be overwhelmed with excitement. The Anbu is the Hokage's personal army, and all the captains are Hiruzen Sarutobi's confidants. Climbing to the captain's position would mean leaping into Konoha's middle and upper echelons. However, Yuto merely kept his head down and responded without hesitation. I apologize, Hokage-sama. I haven't thought thoroughly about the reward yet. May I have a few days to consider? Hiruzen didn't respond immediately. He exhaled a puff of smoke, filling the room with the spicy and peculiar scent of white smoke. The 50-year-old Hiruzen felt a surge of displeasure. Are the rules of the Hyuga clan more significant than those of the village? As the Hokage of Konoha, he naturally knew that upon returning to the village, Yuto Hyuga first went to the Hyuga clan's grounds. Although discreet, this small act did not escape him. Did Hayashi Hyuga instruct you to respond this way? Stalling for time to seek a reward that best benefits the Hyuga clan, Hiruzen sighed inwardly. The village's interests and authority must override all shinobi clans, including the Hyuga and Uchiha. The journey is still long. Nonetheless, as the professor, Hiruzen Sarutobi did not lose his composure. He was not so petty as to take out his frustration on a 12-year-old Hyuga branch child. All right, you can take your time, Hiruzen said calmly, but Yuto-kun, you must give me an idea of what kind of reward you want. Upon hearing this, Yuto's heart tightened. Here it is. Finally, the moment he had been waiting for. There was no need to give a grandiose reply or express any resentment towards the Hyuga clan or the caged bird seal. In his response, he only needed to show a hint of a certain quality. Based on his identity, Hiruzen Sarutobi would certainly make a big deal out of it, allowing Yuto to proceed with his next step. Emotions, actions, words. Everything had to be adjusted perfectly. In the quiet Hokage's office, Yuto Hyuga remained silent for a moment. Then he looked up for the first time, revealing his snow-white eyes. With a gentle, firm voice, tinged with a bit of the unique shyness and hesitation of a young boy, he said, Hokage-sama, I was thinking, if the reward you give me could make everyone in the village happy, that would be wonderful.